Hi guys, I got me a ARRMA KRATON 6S. It's a 1/8 scale truck. I got it used, and it looks like the guy never did maintenance on it. Or in any case, even if he did, I'm not sure when and what was done. ARRMA recommends doing the diffs and the shocks every 5 hours, or about 20 times using a car. 20 times when you run the battery dry on it. I'm gonna do a rear diff, and I'm gonna show you how I do it and what goes into it. So we're gonna take these 4 bolts out. Now mind you, I'm not a professional. I just got the truck, and this is my first big ARRMA truck, so bear with me. And looks like there's a bore in it's worn out right here, so I'm gonna use a file or something to take it off, because I need to take the shim off. It doesn't want to come off. I probably gonna be changing that part soon. Not this time, but probably soon, because you can see it's worn out, and I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. So I'll be changing that soon. So we're gonna have to take those 4 bolts out. I prefer using a screwdriver, electric screwdriver for this. Oh, different bit. Oops. One. I'm just gonna save you time. This screwdriver I got for $30 on Amazon. Like it so far. I didn't use it too much, so I can't really tell you how long is it gonna last or anything, but so far I like it. Definitely makes it easier and quicker. So we're gonna take this off, and I'm gonna clean it and refill it. So because I don't know when was the last time it was done anyway, so I want to clean it good. And to clean it, I'm gonna use a regular gasoline. If you guys know what works better, you can leave it in the comments. But I'm gonna be using gasoline and the brush, just to get the parts cleaned up. Okay, now you can see it a little better. You got this pin in here, don't lose it. It looks like it was leaking some oil at some time, so I'm gonna replace all the O-rings and the seal just in case. It looks like the seal is actually good, but I'm still gonna replace. I already bought the new seal, so might as well. So I'm gonna take it all apart. and get this pin out, and now this thing comes out. And there's a little shim and the O-ring on inside right here, and there's a shim and on the end of the bearing. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a little rinse again just to make sure that everything's clean, and it can sit there and dry out. While I'm going to be cleaning other parts. Okay, I'm not going to need this. There's one shim, two shims. Okay. This bearing is getting bad. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It should be nice and smooth, and this one is got some noise in it. So this bearing would need to be replaced. And I will use, wipe my hands. I'm gonna wipe my hands, and I'm gonna use pliers to hold the gear, and I'm gonna clean it with the brush. This one is definitely easier than the center diff. Center differential has a lot thicker oil in there, and it does not come out easy. It still comes out fairly easy with the gasoline, but it was a little more than just this. So this it's pouring out. So okay, let me just get the gears. Those are just, you take one and pick it up, and you take another one and pick it up, and there's another same kind of gear. And let me get that one off. It's kind of a little tricky with the oil in there. Oh well. The pin inside that was holding it is actually broken. So good thing I'm doing this diff, because I'm gonna have to go to the store and get some parts. Good thing I wasn't running it. So when you buy a used car, you gotta make sure you go over it and fix, because you're not sure how was the maintenance done on it, if it was done at all. Let me clean that out. with some paper towel first. The cup is okay, so get the paper towel to absorb some of the oil. So put that in the trash, and got same shim on one side. It's gonna be shim on the other side once we take it off, but it's not. Okay, so came back from the store. Got new out drive shafts, new out drives. I got new bearing, and so now we can put it together. So putting it together is a fairly simple process. Get the out drive. I use a little bit of oil. Doesn't really matter which one, just a little bit, just to keep things lubricated and going in nice. So you would have out drive, one shim, little one. Then you would have the cup and the O-ring. Put it in there. Okay, so put the O-ring in there. Put the bearing here, and the out drive, push it through. Try to keep the O-ring in there. Once you push that through, another one of these shims right on top, and a pin. So put the pin in there. Put one of these gears on. Make sure it goes in all the way. Now, what I do is I got a lid out of the detergent and drill a hole in it, and just so it would fit the bearing. Now I can put this in here and make it a stand for it. So for now I just gonna put it aside. There's I've seen different ways to do it. You can fill the cup with oil and then assemble everything. I found that for me it's easier to put everything in and then fill up the oil and then just wait until the air goes out. I mean, we can fill up the oil a little bit and then put a little bit more on top. So I guess we're just gonna do that. The oil we're gonna use is 10K for the front and the back, and if you're doing the center diff is 100K. So 10K oil, and we're gonna put it in. Not too much for now, just to keep it in there. Now I'm gonna put this on the side. Take one of these shafts, see it's cut in the middle, so you can cross them over like this. So you get one, get 2 gears, 1, 2, 2 of these shims, one on one side, one on the other. Take 2 of these guys with the hollow part goes on the outside, the solid part goes inside. 1, same way 2. You can spread it out a little bit and put it here for now. We're gonna assemble the second one, same way. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and we can either make it across here and put it in. It's really up to you how you're gonna do it. I'm gonna try to do it here, cross it over here, and then put it in. And okay. Go 1, 2. Once you push everything all the way in, you'll get oil bubbles, air bubbles. So you don't want any air bubbles in there. At least it's my understanding. So we can kind of like slowly work it a little bit just to fill up all the gaps in the gears. And at this point, I'm gonna leave it for, I don't know, maybe a couple hours, maybe an hour, to get rid of the bubbles. If you're gonna have too much air in there, you might break your gears, because once the air bubble get in there, it's gonna jump and you might break the gear. So just put it in there and you can leave it alone like that for a little bit. Meanwhile, we're gonna assemble the the other side of it. Same way. Get a little bit of oil in there, just a little bit. It doesn't really have to be much. That's a little bit too much. That's why I used the shock oil on the first one. But anyway, get this shim for the bearing not to go down. Bearing on one side. And O-ring on the other side. And push it through. Once you push it all the way through the O-ring stays in there. Now put this in, shim, pin, and this gear. Now, before we're gonna put this gear in, put some oil in here, because when we're gonna put it here, we're gonna have to flip it to put it on top. And if you don't put no oil in here, it might fall. In this case it's staying, but there you go, it fell off. So if you put 1 drop of oil in there, just enough for that to be there. Now when you put the gear on top of that oil gonna hold the gear in place and it's not falling. So we're gonna put this one here and this here, and see some of the bubbles already disappeared, so probably another, I don't know, it depends how thick is the oil. The center diff gonna take a lot longer because the oil's way too thick, and this one is already pretty clear, if you can see it. Got a couple bubbles in there, but it's not too bad. They're small bubbles, they're not big. Let me see if I work it slow, see if any more bubbles gonna come up. No bubbles are coming up, so no big bubbles. That's already good. Just gonna wait a little more. And this gasket that goes here too. Like that. Okay, it's been about 10-15 minutes. Most of the bubbles are gone. There's a couple micro bubbles in there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but nothing big. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of more oil to it, because I want it just a little bit more. Some people say don't overfill it. Some people say you just need a little bit. I fill it up. So I'll put a little bit more oil in there. And the reason for that is I don't want no air in there, because air and oil doesn't really mix good together. So I don't know if you can see it, it's pretty full. So what I'm gonna do next, we have to put it together, but I'm gonna put my bolts through right now, and I'll explain you the reason why I'm gonna do this. Is you don't want, I overfilled the diff a little bit, so when I'm gonna put this gear inside, it's gonna displace the oil gonna leak out a little bit. It's not a big deal. I'm gonna take care of it with a paper towel later. But what I don't want to happen is the oil, I don't want the oil to go into this holes right here for the screws, because there's a couple things that might happen. If you have a lot of oil go in there, you might strip the threads in here, and that's not good. Another thing that might happen is you put a little bit of oil on the bottom, you're going to put the screw in, there's going to be enough thread in there, and then that oil going to compress in there and might break the case. It might break that cup. So to avoid that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my screws in, and I'm going to align it with the holes, and I'm going to start it. Every screw I'm going to start to make sure. Just a little bit, not much, nothing crazy. Just start it. Now we can put it in and tighten it. Actually, let me get my screwdriver here. It's going to be a little quicker. More. Now, once you get it almost there, see how the oil seeps out a little bit? You can see the gear is wet with the oil. That's not a big deal. We'll spray it out and we'll clean it. Just tighten up these screws. You want to tighten it in the star kind of pattern. Make sure it's tight, but don't over tighten it, because you might strip the threads in there. Okay, and this would be it. Now I just have to clean that oil, that little bit of oil. You can do that with carb cleaner, you can do it with anything really, or just paper towel. You can do that with paper towel, just a little bit. Now remember to put this shim in here on this side before you put it in the car. And that would conclude my video for my diffs, how to rebuild the diffs. Center diff, front, rear, they all the same, except for the gear looks a little different, but the whole process is the same. Like I say, center diff, because the oil is thick, you're gonna have to wait a lot longer for the air bubbles to come out. So like if this one was 10-15 minutes, the center diff will be an hour or so, maybe a couple hours before the bubble is going to disappear. And thank you for watching. If you have any comments, if you like I said, I'm not a professional, I'm just doing what in my opinion is the best practice, so you can follow along. If there's any professionals watching this, or people who've been in the hobby for a long time, and you have some comments how I can do stuff better, different, quicker, For instance, maybe washing the gears off, what can be used to wash it quicker, or any kind of tips really. Your opinions, just put in the comments, and I appreciate the comments. Put a thumbs up if you liked the video, if it was good to follow along, and you guys have a good one.